Hello and welcome to another edition of The Big O Show, starring Orestes Destrade. I am your humble host, JP Peterson, with my man.
Hello.
Fresh back from the MLB. P-A-A-A-A-A.
Yeah, no, just two A's. You're quite the A yourself.
Thank you. Got a hole behind that. We got something.
We just had a little technical difficulty, but we're back on track. Hey, listen, back.
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. Thanks.
Looks like the audio's working.
Thanks for your patience, ladies and gentlemen. No, it's good to be back. Was gone last week in Colorado Springs, the headquarters of the MLB Major League Baseball Players Alumni Association, a fine organization that does so much for not only, the youth, which upwards of 300-400 free clinics throughout the nation and even globally, but also for the former older players. And I'm very proud of that. I'm on their board as co-chair along the likes of Jim Thome, Al Leiter, Jose Batista, Mike Myers as our chairman, Don Doherty, several other players that I'm forgetting right now, Brian McRae. So we got a good list of kind of diverse players from different walks of our baseball life, and both demographically and geographically. So been involved with that for now, almost 15 plus years. And again, very proud of it. We have our yearly board meetings that kind of go over everything and where the money's spent and where it's going and what the future holds. Obviously, this is a big one, even for us, even though we're no longer players. But because of the pending potential lockout, a lot of that was discussed. But one of the reasons we're in Colorado Springs, just so people know, that's the headquarters of the MLB PAA, has been for the greater part of the last 30 years. The PAA has been around for over 50 years, but kind of led by one main guy for over 40 years. The guy's name is Dan Foster. Got to tip my hat off to Mr. Dan Foster and what a job he's done growing this Players Alumni Association. Many, JP, agree wholeheartedly, 100%, that it is the best alumni association of the big four. That being NHL, obviously NBA, and the NFL.
Well, you got the best pension, I know that.
They do, and also, I'll tell you what, the other three kind of come to our organization for advice, for ideas, because the last like 30 years they've been very innovative. So we were retiring Dan, and bringing in his underling for the last over 20 years, Jeff Dixon, as the new CEO and leader of this whole thing. So everybody kind of came to Colorado Springs. Normally we have our meetings either in Florida or in New York City. This year we took it there, and many came, not just from our board, who needed to come because of the board meetings, but the likes of Tony Clark came to share in this going away party, if you will, for Dan Foster. Steve Garvey, Donald Fuhrer showed up.
Wow.
Because the PA obviously is very connected with the PAA.
Right.
Because the Players Association, which governs the current major league players and minor league players for that matter, because they govern both and are about the best interest of the current players, work hand in hand with the Alumni Association for the recently retired players or the players for many, many years. We have, older players, obviously, like Steve Garvey, who looks great, by the way, 70 years old. And I had never officially met him. I've met him offhandedly here and there at events, but never really had a chance to shake hands and really get a chance to talk. It was a big deal for me because, Steve Garvey was, as when I was
Tampa's own, Bob.
Tampa's own. But by the way, right away he said, he goes, "Where are you living at, Big O?" And I go, "I live in Tampa." I'm from Tampa.
Yes, yeah.
So he told me a lot of great stories. Just lost.
I don't think he grew up here though.
No, he did. He was a youngster.
Played a little bit.
Yeah, he played Little League here. Yes, he did. because he told me stories about his dad taking him to certain games and stuff like that, spring training games. And by the way, you know that he ran for Senate in California.
Damn near won.
And damn near won. It was quite the almost upset.
Yeah.
So we talked about that, and he was really proud of the Hispanic votes that he got. He goes, I was really out there with the Hispanic vote because him knowing that I'm Hispanic. So I had a great time with Steve. And great time was had by all as far as our board meetings, but also celebrating Dan Foster. But that gets me to Tony Clark, JP, because him going out of his way to come down there for twofold, celebrate Dan Foster and his retirement, but also address the board after our board meetings. And it was really, really fascinating, and the things that he had to say.
Well, let's not beat around the bush here, partner. The baseball is somewhat of an existential crisis when it comes to players and management. This is kind of the head. You even mentioned it off the air. This is, we kicked the can down the road 5 years ago, and now it's here. And with the Kyle Tucker contract, by the way, congrats to Kyle Tucker, our man in our Tampa zone here.
Yeah.
But that has been kind of the lightning rod of wanting a salary cap for all these other markets that just feel like they are have-nots, and they really are in this situation. And so I think a lot of the fans are looking towards the players, and unfairly so, I think, kind of putting it all on the players to say, hey, you need to agree to a salary cap.
Right.
You need to agree and a salary floor. I don't think the fans are necessarily saying that players have to take less money. I don't think that's it at all. But I think that what they want to see is a level playing field.
Yeah.
And as long as there's not a salary cap, there's not going to be one.
Yes.
And so much like the football owners, the baseball owners can't control themselves in terms of their spending to do it organically. You're going to have to do it across the board.
Yeah.
And that's going to take some leadership, and it's going to take I think it's going to take a very extensive lockout to get something done. I hope we don't lose the whole season, but I think that's a real possibility.
It is. And as you say, kick the can. I mean, listen, we live here in the Tampa Bay area. We've been following the saga of the Rays Stadium for a while. There's been
which we'll get to.
Yeah, and there's been a semblance, if you will, of that has been kicked the can down the road many times, right? Yeah, we almost got it. Okay, well, now we're going to look till later, or we'll do this and just wait, and it just hasn't happened. But at certain points in time, you have your proverbial come to Jesus. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I think this is where they're at. And he was very open, to a certain degree. Obviously, he's not going to share exactly, and rightfully so, some of their tactics, thoughts, lawyeries, methodologies, but safe to say, and the things that he was sharing with us, by the way, an incredible orator, I have a lot of respect for him as a former player, and I was a switch hitting 6'4", 230-pound first baseman. He was a switch hitting 6'7", 240, 50-pound first baseman. So we kind of always had a great connection between each other as far as the players that we were, but also extremely smart, extremely articulate, very thoughtful person. It made me feel very much better hearing him for that length of time, because I've heard him in little snippets here and there, but for that length of time, and he gave us pretty much, an hour of his time to explain his thoughts of where baseball has been and where it needs to go. And the biggest problem is the salary cap. The biggest scenario that he sees is because you're going to have two immovable forces, hitting each other. Come, I believe it's December 1st when the CBA expires.
After this season.
Yeah. So, and that is because they did kick the can down the road as far as the fact that the owners are like, we want a salary cap. We need a salary cap. And the players are like, he shared well over 90% of the players surveyed are in solidarity with the union that we don't need a salary cap. We do not want a salary cap. So those things are going to converge, and how they end up compromising is going to be very interesting. There has to eventually be a compromise, or we're going to lose a lot. Remember, I was part of the 94 season that, that struck as players struck.
Yeah.
And ended up being the one and only season where there was no World Series.
Yeah.
How sad that was, and it took a lot to truly bring the fandom back. And in fact, the saving grace was, I believe, one player back then in 95 when we started playing again. Cal Ripken Jr.
Cal Ripken's, the Iron Man.
And the Iron Man streak became such a palpable thing that everybody started watching that and appreciating as an everyday person, as this kind of, lunch pail kind of guy. And he literally brought us back from the ashes. If it wasn't for Cal, then subsequently, a few years later, you had the home run, battles between Sammy and McGuire. And those, by 98, that was super sexy. But it was really Cal that we have to take our hat to him, because now this is going to be tough, man. And I think, there's talks about $150 million, 130 thereabouts, floor, 350 ceiling. He's saying that doesn't fix the problem. He feels like it actually prohibits the players from moving forward. Backtrack just 2 minutes ago.
How so?
You may, and that's kind of complicated because he gave examples, like, for example, in basketball, when they run into a problem as far as with their revenue sharing, and they don't make as much money one year as the other, they literally are allowed to take a percentage of your contract, and you don't get paid that amount. So there's upwards of 10 to 20% of contracts that it's agreed upon in the CBA
that fluctuates with revenue. Interesting.
That also is the case in the NHL. I don't remember him saying that about the NFL.
So the players really have a skin in the game.
The players end up having a skin in the game.
Yeah.
So then you have to make sure that, everything is going positive and everything's going good. But if there's a dip, you dip. So that's something that he doesn't like. That's something the players don't like.
Yeah.
You don't want that type of volatility potentially, right? The other aspect
is the owners have to share in that.
The owners do have to share in
the players.
I understand. But here's the other part that, again, the narrative gets a little tweaked. It depends who's selling the narrative. We know that in the media so well, right?
For sure, yeah.
So our boy here, local boy down the road, a few miles from where our studio is, just signed, a contract that gave him, I believe, $64 million bonus, definitely $60 million, I believe, in upfront bonus, and that is Kyle Tucker. But remember, just a few years ago, the Tampa Bay Rays were under $1 billion in worth. So were the Marlins.
Right.
And the Marlins ended up selling for 1.2. The Rays ended up selling for 1.7. There isn't a team in baseball, the 30 teams that are close anymore to even $1 billion. They're all upwards inching closer to the $2 billion mark. Win, lose, or draw. Oh, by the way. So you got to understand that exponentially, the salaries are going up, but the worth of the teams are going up at a great rate, if not greater, for the people that are owning the team. That's great. You own the team, you're running it, you should make a great ROI. I applaud that. But don't kind of get confused in thinking that, wow, the players are making so much money. The owners are really the ones that are making so much money, and that's fine. It's a capitalistic society. So it should go concurrent with the owners own the team, but the commodity still is the player. So in the end, without the owners, you can't play the game. Right. But without the players, they can't own a team. So it's a real give and take, and that's where the clashing is going to be.
Well, I think what fans want to know, honestly, is how dug in are the players?
I'm telling you, they're dug in. They are dug in to
until they lose half a year's salary.
Till they use possibly a half a year's salary and make little 10-year-olds cry.
And make 10-year-olds cry. And here's where I think public opinion is really going to line up against the players.
100%. Always does.
I'm not saying it's fair, but I think it's true. And they're going to blame these contracts, the uneven playing field on the players. Sure. And it's not their fault.
No.
But publicly, it's like a lot of things going on in the media right now. The truth doesn't matter. Right. It's what the narrative is. And then the other big part of it is the fact that players are going to lose a lot of money.
Yeah.
And the most of the players don't make a lot of money,
Right.
relatively speaking. Baseball is a very, and I don't know what the numbers are, but it seems to be that you have a lot of players making
greater,
big money.
Yeah.
There's a big disparity. There's not a whole lot of middle class.
Let me touch on that for a second. You're 100% right. And the way that the owners have, I don't want to use manipulate, might be a little harsh, but matriculated, let's say, through the last decade has been very smart, very MIT in the sense of, JP, they realize, okay, so we're going to have the haves. They're going to get a shitload of money, but we want to try to control the have-nots and get rid of that in-between player if we can. Anytime that we can get rid of that player, we're going to DFA that player. We're going to release that player. We're going to kind of try to squeeze that player out, right? So it's interesting. We're talking about the kick the can. That's what I asked Tony Clark about, was like the last CBA, where did things, where do you leave it? And remember, the biggest thing that they were pushing for in the last CBA is to make the minimum salary rise quite a bit. They did. They jumped. In the last two CBAs, they've gone from like 400,000 to 550. This last time, they went up to 770. So now a minimum salary for a full year in the major leagues is at 770, almost 800,000. So they were trying to somehow, small, make that gap a little smaller. Still big, but getting a little smaller, because it was really small a decade ago, right? So then what do the owners do? The owners were manipulating their option players. They were manipulating the option players. So yeah, you're at 770 or even at 550, but what am I doing? I'm going to just give you a month in the big leagues, and I'm going to send you down and call up another guy, give him a month. So it was like,
and the Rays were at the forefront of
the Rays were Mac Daddies on that. Oakland was really good on that. Several teams were really, jumping on that. There's two ways of thoughts with that. You could do it because, you bring in a lefty for a while, and because you need a lefty in the bullpen. But really, it was kind of manipulating the market to try to keep your costs down.
Absolutely.
And because obviously, if you don't know, those guys are all under split contracts. So in the minor leagues, they're making 150, prorated a day. In the big leagues, all of a sudden you're making 770. So if they can, save here and there, they could do that. So bottom line is that they were using all of that. So what did they do? They fought for 770. They fought for only so many times that you can outright a guy.
Right.
And they won those wars. Their other war was they wanted the luxury tax to go up greater every year, more exponentially, because it was only going up in little increments. Right. So they wanted that. So they kind of compromised on that. So the luxury tax ceiling, if you will, is in the 330s now, I believe, somewhere in thereabouts. And so they were able to garner that. So if you notice, they were trying to kind of play that game so now it's a different game. Now it's going to be a game of like, how much are you willing to compromise? And if they're going to give in, JP, it's got to be with them saying where the floor is going to be. Because in my mind's eye, you want to get a situation where
if you get the floor to 150.
Yeah, if you get the floor to 150.
Which is average.
Now a team has to pay a bunch of guys.
And that's 30 teams that have to be at 150.
Have to be.
And there's probably 15 teams. That's about where the average is.
Right.
So you got 15 teams underneath that.
Correct.
Some significantly underneath that, like the Rays.
Yeah. Five for sure that have been under 100 million for years.
So that money spreads out all over baseball, and more people get paid in that 48% number, whereas where Major League Baseball is that the players get of the revenue.
Correct.
Probably needs to be up in the low 50s like it is for NFL.
So that's the revenue sharing is the second point that I asked him about.
So I think that's where, if we get to something, the owners are going to have to agree to pay the players more overall.
Yeah.
But they will be able to spread it out over all the teams and get a more level playing field.
I would think, as opposed to, having the Rays do a deal. Oh, we got to be at 150. Okay, we'll sign, our boy Tucker and give him $60 million.
Yeah, and that's where that comes in.
Yeah.
That evens out the talent, and you don't have this talent concentration with the Mets and these big market teams, and that's where we need to be. Yeah. That's what's going to make baseball thrive.
The NFL's understand the NFL salary cap that well. How does that one work? Is it, I know every year it changes, obviously with some sort of, degrees of going up, but is there a floor with every team has to hit a particular amount?
Yeah, there's a floor and there's a ceiling.
Okay.
And a cap. And in the NFL world, the players make about 52 to 53% of revenues.
Gotcha.
And that's includes all national television deals, and they collectively bargain everything together.
Right.
So the NFL model is really the highest grossing model.
That's what I've heard.
And by quite a bit. I think I think Major League Baseball and NBA are about 15 billion every year.
Yeah, they're 13 to 15.
Yeah,
NFL's in the 20s.
25.
Yeah.
I think it's at 25 billion. So they've been the most successful league, and I would argue it's because their model creates an even playing field and also incentivizes the bad teams to get better with higher draft picks, easier schedule, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
So their whole model has always been, and this was kind of a Pete Rozelle thing, is let's make every season, every market feel like they have a chance to win.
Right.
And what that does is that engages every market. So now you have more interest every year. Like you have markets in baseball that just know they got no chance.
Colorado's they do not chance. Pittsburgh's got no chance.
I mean, even here in Tampa Bay, we have a little bit of that.
Yeah.
That small market.
We've been the little engine that could.
Yeah.
That every year you go, they shouldn't have a chance, but we can't count them out.
Right.
They're that team, but there's not that many of those teams.
But even those days, you feel like kind of what the Rays magic has kind of waned a little bit. People have caught up to some of the things they've done.
Right.
And so now how do we get back in the mix of it?
That's a great point.
So I think that's what, from a public standpoint, that's what everybody wants to see, more of an NFL model. Now, in order to get there, you're going to have some of these, teams that kind of run the roost, and that's the Yankees, the Dodgers, all the big money teams are going to have to agree to give up what is a huge advantage for them.
Yeah.
People don't just readily do that unless they buy in.
It's difficult because they also are the places that generate the most revenue.
Right. And that's the same thing in the NFL.
Dallas.
But they figured out that, that if you could do this collectively, it rises, the tide rises all boats.
Yes.
So everybody makes more money. And I think that's where baseball needs to get. They need to the players and the players and owners who've always been at each other's throats need to come together and understand that if they do that, and there's no guarantee. I mean, there's no guarantee, but you could look at these other models, and especially the NFL, and say, look, if we don't do something similar, maybe we can be more popular because more markets will be interested for a longer period of time during the season.
Yeah.
I mean, come July, August, half the markets are just out. Sell less tickets, less revenue, less ratings. Yeah. We're done. We're out of it. We don't care. Yeah. Whereas you have half the freaking league in the NFL that's still in it up till the week 17, week 18.
Look at the parity that showed up this year in the NFL.
Yeah, yeah. And so that makes money.
Yeah.
Parity makes money. Yeah. And I think its secret sauce is for the the owners and the players to get together and realize that if they do come together, they can make more money.
Right.
And that's eventually what they want.
I think the biggest trepidation that I get from the Players Association, and even when I was playing, but even more so now from the likes of Tony Clark and from other current players that I've talked to, is the potential of it being limiting and that there being some level of stagnancy few years down the road.
Yeah.
Not in their era, but remember, the one thing that the association, when I was playing, always saying, don't think that you're just playing for yourself now, or you're playing for 10 years from now, and 20 years from now, and 30 years from now. Here I am removed from playing 30 years ago, right? Almost in 97, that you're like sitting back, and I'm like, wow, okay, I made some pretty good money. But look at what we established in fighting in 94 and fighting for things. I spent some really good time at the dinner for Diane Foster, and I took a side and I wanted to talk to Donald Fear, who I've had a decent relationship. Whenever he sees me, he comes by and he talks to me. But I really thanked him for what he had done, what he meant. He started in the 70s. Yeah. He was tutored by Marvin Miller, the legendary labor negotiator who created so many of the things, for the
free agency.
He created free agency, he created arbitration, before free agency, arbitration, so important. We've talked about it on the show.
Mm-hmm.
So many other labor issues that they fought for. I really appreciate it, and I wanted to tell them, thank you, because I was able to make a lot of money as a player in my 15, 16 years of playing, my 4 or 5 in the big leagues, then going to Japan, et cetera, et cetera. It all kind of tied together because it every year brought more money to the players. Every year brought more money to the owners, right? And so I sit here, and I will say that back in '94, we got hammered because we were the ones that struck.
Right.
And we got hammered. Yeah. I mean, it was like, you selfish sons of bitch players. And the owners, jumped on that.
Oh, yeah.
And
had the replacement players
players, and finally put a stop to that and said, no World Series, almost like slapping the players in the face. It's your fault.
Yep.
And then when they got back to the tables that winter, and and everything resumed. This one's a little trickier because it's going to be the owner standing pat and going, if you don't accept salary cap, we're not opening the doors to spring training.
That's why I think it's going to be really bad.
It's going to be bad.
And that's why I think
part of me feels like hoping that there's going to be some silver lining somewhere and some compromise. I didn't leave Tony Clark feeling that way, though. I felt confident in what his negotiating tactics, but I didn't feel confident that he was going to be able to convince them and that the compromise was going to be agreeable.
And what it comes down to, frankly, is who's got the stronger stomach.
Yeah.
And I don't know if the players, when you get right down to it, most of the players, as I said, are minimum salary arbitration guys. I don't know what the percentage is, but it's most of the players, and it's probably pretty high. Those players cannot afford to lose a year's salary. They just can't. None of them have the money built up. Very few of them.
They've been telling them for the last couple of years.
I know, but
to do that.
You think they've been saving?
Yeah. No, do I know they've been
it doesn't
saving?
matter.
I agree. Yeah, but they told us to, I remember back in 93 leading into 94, we would have, meetings, and it was like, listen, it's not looking really good in 94. We might have to strike. We prepare for that. Certain contracts.
Revenue.
So, like, for example, my contract, my agent was very smart. I came back from Japan after the 92 season. I signed a 2-year, $4.5 million contract with the Marlins. 3.5 of it was in the first year.
Yeah. Smart.
So I had a $1 million contract for year 2. So when we struck year, I didn't lose that much of the money.
Smart.
Because he was thinking, it's not looking pretty. Yeah. You know what I mean? And you get situations like Kyle Tucker, who just took a $60 million bonus.
He took it up front.
Yeah.
He's making $1 million in salary this year.
So two things he stayed from. Next year, a potential strike. So he's not making money. Took the $60 million now, and also $1 million only in California. So when you take the bonus only applies to where your homestead is. So
which is Florida,
no taxes, and he's going to play for $1 million.
So instead of the 16% state tax or whatever it is in California,
14 or 15.
14.
Yeah. On top of regular taxes.
Smart.
So smart. So he double dipped on that one, protecting on a lockout.
But most of the players,
you're right.
The bottom line is probably lost revenue.
It's lost.
Even if you're saving, it's lost revenue that you don't get back.
Let me ask you this too. In this day and age of this podcasting, streaming, so many different other venues of entertainment, right? And even though, Fanstream Sports is about sports, so people that we thank you that log on are wanting to hear about football and basketball and hockey and baseball. What do you think would happen in this new age compared to 94? Now we're talking 30 years ago, right? Over 30 years. How do you think the market's going to take if there's an extended? Is the eyes going to go to just we're done with that? We're going to go somewhere else.
This is a business axiom.
There's a percentage that will leave you and leave you for good.
Especially now.
There's a percentage. That's what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah. There's too much.
There's a percentage that will stay. They're diehard. They'll wait for you to come back.
Yeah. There's the old heads will, but we're all dying off. Those
baby boomers are dying off.
Yeah. We're you got us right because we'll always be baseball fans. But these new kids, these new generations.
No games? No information?
We're moving on.
No streaming about there's nothing to report?
Yeah, we're moving on. They're moving on to something else, and they may not come back.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And I think it's a big gamble. with all sports right now.
Yeah,
I think
delicate.
Fans are kind of on the edge. Look at college football, look at college sports now. Fans are kind of on the edge as to all these players, and they're making the money, and do they really give a shit about the fans?
NIL, now college kids are making money.
We see, players get in trouble with gambling now, and it's just, do they really care about winning? That
the
whole
allegiance of college, staying with your school for 4 years, is going by the wayside.
I mean, one of my good friends who played Major League Baseball, Joel McEwen, he once said to me, fans want to believe that players will live and die to play the game and for their team.
Right.
Like we did in high school, like we did in college, like we did in Little League, And the fact of the matter is, it's business. It's a business. And players will, especially the first half of the season, they're trying to get their stats, which pick gets paid money. And then we'll look up in August like, oh, we're in it. And it's a different level of, okay, now we're in it. And that's kind of something that you never want fans to know. Right. And it's the same thing in football. You get to a point in the season where it's self-preservation.
Right.
And you're just trying to get through the season uninjured so you can make more money.
Right.
And it's an illusion that these players, for the love, they love the game.
Of
course,
I'm
not saying
you
don't, but it's a business.
It is a business.
And when it comes down to these negotiations now, it's really a business.
When
fans don't want to hear that.
As a former player, when you learn when it's a business? When
you get cut.
No. It's not so much that. That too. When you realize that they force you to understand that it's a business. So when your contract is up and you're fighting your contract, and then I remember the first year that I was fighting for a major league bump up contract.
Right.
And then my agent's like, they're not budging, man. They're saying that they can't do it. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I did this, I did that. And and then he literally said, hey, man, it's their business. You know what I mean? It's their business. This is their business plan. And they're only going to go up 10,000, take it or leave it type stuff. And you're like, holy cow, I thought they loved me. You know what I mean? And I had a really good year last year. And it's like, this is really a business. So now the next time when I have the hammer, when I came back from Japan, or when I went, I remember having a great year in Japan, and I had the hammer at that point. It was like, no, I want to double my salary. And it was like, okay, because now I had the business hammer.
Leverage. It's all leverage.
Speaking of leverage, that kind of leads us into the Tampa Bay area.
Yes. Well, before we do that, let's thank our sponsors.
Let's do that.
Texas Roadhouse of Wesley Chapel, one of the great restaurants I know you're there all the time.
All the time, love it. And the service. Firstly, obviously, with anything, it's do you like it, and does it taste good, and you want to come back? But then the service also comes into play for any type of establishment that happens to do with food. You want to love the food, you're going to love it. Great comfort food for a comfortable price, but you also want good service. You want a happy atmosphere. And then the third thing I believe also is important is location. And so many people are moving out to that area. It's so much, even if you don't live in that area.
Speaking of low taxes.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah. Hello, Pasco. And and on top of that, even if you don't live in that area, it's so much more accessible now. I was just down in Ybor for lunch earlier today, and saw all the all the extensions that they're building and stuff like that. We're making Tampa much more accessible.
But Wesley Chapel, if you're in the area, you're going to the Wiregrass malls or the outlets, make a point of it to stop into Texas Roadhouse, Wesley Chapel, and have a great meal. Also, Kingmakers Tampa, where we are emanating from right here. This great production facility can be yours if you become a member of Kingmakers Tampa. We also have a golf simulator, a sports bar, office space, private office space, conference room. All of that can be yours. Go to kingmakerstampa.com. And Genesis of Tampa.
Genesis of Tampa, talk about great service and great product. Number one, the product. Number two, the service. Number three, the location now is in a great location in central Tampa, basically right there off of Barriston, Nebraska, pissing off a lot of people in Lakeland and in Clearwater. Not dogging their Genesis dealerships, but this is the best one now in the Tampa Bay area. And well run, you're going to love it. and the product. The product, again, with anything in sports and in life, it's about product, service, and, what team you're with.
So we got a bunch of comments here, and this one is labor related. Mike asks, how long do you think the stoppage would last? How dug in are the players?
Well, it's the problem, Mike, is that not only the players are dug in, and they're dug in at about a 95% was what I heard of like sell through of not wanting a salary cap. So that's dug in. And then you have the owners that are the ones that have the keys to spring training and starting the season. And we saw that they locked out, 4+ years ago, right? So they locked out for a minute and said, and spring training was started a little late, but they got to the table then, and I got the aforementioned, kicking the can down the road and agreeing on a couple of things. The luxury tax going up a little greater than MLB wanted, but they agreed to that, and they agreed to the 770. I think a lot of that was they're like, okay, we'll agree to that, but 5 years from now, we got something for you.
Yeah.
So they're dug in. So that's the problem. So to answer your second question, as far as dug in, both are dug in from what I'm hearing. Mm-hmm. The second question is, how long will this dig out be? Obviously November, December, January is going to be massive months of negotiation. But then you get into February. I think they feel like they don't have to close things down by the end of February, a year from now. Exactly where are we today? The 26th. Mm-hmm. They'll probably feel like both sides will feel like we can go into February a little bit. We can even go into March a little bit.
I just, to your point.
And I think that's what's going to happen, and it'll probably shorten the season. Listen, I'm a baseball purist. I'm not that upset if the season gets shortened. I'm being candid with you. So work it out. If it takes 6 months and you start in November, that's November, December, January, February, March, April. If you have to go to spring training a little later in April and May, and then you start, if you play a 120-game season, there's money lost.
Yeah.
But I'm not that upset with it. I think the Major League season, having played it and played 153 games one year, and I almost died at the end of the season. Yeah. I like 140-ish, Back in the day, they played 154, remember? Right. Yeah. And they added the extra 8 games. So that's another topic for another time. But the bottom line is, to answer your question, Mike, I think it's going to infringe and go into the season. I don't feel that it's going to be half the season loss. There's too many. Listen, we just touched on
so much money to be made and lost.
That's it. We just touched on a couple of different dynamics. Obviously, all leads back to money, like most things in life, right? It's money loss, money made, money lost. But then it's also the length of loss that you may incur, because both owners and players, but I think in the end, it's going to probably be the owners, because if you lose a 10% share that just does not come back to you, because of the day and age that we live in, that people are just different about what they watch and what they do and what they put their time, effort, and money in. Because of this and because of all, muchacho, watch out for what you ask for, because a 10% share loss means hundreds of millions of dollars over a period of time.
Yeah. And I think it's a dodgy time to be doing that with the economy where it is and getting better, but the affordability issue is humongous, and fans just can't afford to go to games anymore. So piss them off and give them even more reason. Like these millionaire players, these billionaire owners, they don't give a shit about us.
You may lose some kids.
You might lose some kids.
When
you might
I
lose
say
some
kids,
adults.
I'm saying, the ones that are 20-ish, they're 25. You may lose those, and that's those are fans that have been trying to re-engage with. What do you think all of this is about? What do you think all the streaming and all the new techie stuff that MLB has been putting out there and ways to reach these kids? By that I mean not so much the younger kids you're going to have, the 8, 9, 10, 12, they're not going to turn away. When the games are back on, they're back on. I'm talking about the ones that have money that are, have options 22 to 35. those are the ones that you're risking.
Yeah. And Mike, you asked what the outcome will be. It's going to be like everything else. It's going to be a negotiation. I feel that there's going to be some type of salary cap implemented because I know the owners are dug in on that.
Mm-hmm.
And I also think that the players are posturing a little bit, knowing that eventually they have to, but they're never going to admit that in public.
Nope.
And as long as they can get a salary floor that is meaningful,
that's going to be the key.
That raises all boats.
Yeah.
I think they can swallow that.
Yeah.
They can swallow that. And I think the biggest thing, and I'll go back to it real quick, is that everybody has to buy in and understand that this is what's best for baseball.
Right.
In this climate, we see all the other leagues have it. Baseball's the outlier, and baseball is the one where it's the most unbalanced playing field.
Correct.
And it needs to get back to, and if all the markets were invested throughout the season, it's more money for everybody. And when they get to that,
and that's where the revenue sharing comes into place in this thing. So it's kind of like three different head monster. You have the ceiling, the floor. Where can the ceiling be, and then where's the revenue?
And that's the thing that the big markets have to understand. Once there is a floor and a ceiling, then they won't have to share as much revenue.
They don't have to share as much.
They don't have to give the Rays $60 million,
right?
And the Pirates and these other teams, because they're forced
100%.
to use the money that they're already being given in revenue sharing and everything else. So, but they have to spend it on the players, which is where it should be.
Good question, Mike. Though.
All right, a couple other questions here as we kind of transfer over to the Rays as we do.
Speaking of leverage,
Michael LaRue says, do the Rays need to add another high leverage arm in the bullpen, or are they good with who they have?
I'm happy with their bullpen right now. I don't think sans any major injuries. Griffin Jacks for me is I don't try to stretch him out and try to consider him as a starter. You're going to do that, already with Steven Matz. And
he's your other starter.
He's your other starter.
Yeah.
And I like the bullpen. I feel Uceta is going to come in with a mentality of this is my role. This is my, situation. This is my money. You know what I mean? If he comes in and has that, second half that he had last year and kind of puts it all together in a full year, I think we may end up having one of our greatest potential closers, dare I say, till,
really?
Going all the way back to Roberto Hernandez, who was so consistent. I know Fernando Rodney had the greatest single year, but that was a one-off. I think, when you think of greatest closers in Rays history, it's Roberto Hernandez doing it for several years. I think he's got that capability now. And then the rest of the bullpen, I like Clevenger. I like
Manny
the mix and
Rodriguez.
match. Yeah, I mean, Manny's coming back off an injury. You got a nice mix and match, potential that gives you a lot of depth.
Brian Baker.
I like Brian Baker. I like them all. Biggie is back, from an injury. So
there's always a surprising arm too.
Oh, they've got so many down there. So
Cole
as
Sulzer.
far as for short, Boyle is expected.
Joe Boyle. Hunter Biggie's coming back.
Hunter Biggie is what I said. And then Joe Boyle, I like Joe Boyle as a starter, but if you wanted to, use him in long relief and whatnot. So the relief is not the problem. If anything, maybe go ahead and bring back Zach, go back, and bring back Zach Littell. Because you need that veteran.
Starter,
you need that veteran arm. One more veteran arm. There was a rumor trade out there. Goodness, what was it? Was there another question in there?
Another one is MLB wants parity and not to be dominated by these behemoths with unlimited funds. Most teams are out of it in 2 months. Yeah, we talked about that. I agree with that. It's and I do think any of these type of situations will benefit the Rays. Michael LaRue also asked, now that the Rays are back to pitcher-friendly Tropicana Field, the power isn't going to come as easily as it did at Steinbrenner Field. So outside of Caminero, who actually is going to provide the pop?
Well, here's the thing. Jonathan Aranda had a great offensive year as far as being a consistent contact guy. A lot of doubles, a lot of singles. Ended up popping a few homers when he came back off the IL, but not really considered that 30 homer threat. I think he has that potential because quality hitters, by that I mean guys that are consistently have potential of hitting 280 to 300. As the years go on and hundreds of at-bats turn into thousands of at-bats, they can actually become more powerful. So I look at Jonathan Aranda in a full-on, year of getting 140 games in, getting 600 at-bats. I think he could pop 25 or 30. So there's one. Obviously, Yandy Diaz is not going to hit as many as he hit last year because he hit a few cheapies down to right field, took advantage of. He's such a good hitter that he can almost guide a ball out that way. So he might go down. I think Aranda will go up. You expect Yandy to be around the 20. I think Aranda has potential to hit 30 home runs. That's how good
he hit
hitter.
14 in 106 games last year.
Yeah. So I think he has a chance to double that. He's that good of a hitter.
Agreed.
So you do that. Obviously Cedric Mullins, if you go back to a 2 year ago, Cedric Mullins, that's a 20+ homer guy. You know what I mean? They're really high on Melton. Yeah. The 25-year-old kid. They think that he has a lot of upside being not only a pretty good thumper, but a guy that can steal 30, 40 bases. So will it be interesting to see how much playing time in this crowded outfield that we're looking at? I'm high on Fraley. Fraley struggled against lefties, but I'm going to tell you what, against righties, he thumps. So I'm expecting him to pop 15 or 20. So you can mix and match and kind of get that old school Rays, multiple hitters, doing well like they used to in the past. An interesting trade. I found it because I kind of earmarked it. That was just a rumor. There's a bunch of those rumors out there. Was because of the re-signing of Cody Bellinger, and possibly because of you have to fit in Spencer Jones from the Yankees at some point in time. The guy's just crushed too much in the big league, in the minor leagues. He had 35 home runs last year. He had like 40 stolen bases. The dude has massive holes, strikes out like crazy, but he's 6'7", 240 with speed and power. So I see him getting a lot more opportunities. So who's the guy that's going to be stuck? That's a really potential star. Jason Dominguez. Jason Dominguez could be traded by the Yankees. And that would be an interesting. So the hypothetical trade was like Jason Dominguez, and they would get Rasmussen. We would get like Jason Dominguez and Luis Hill, and I don't know. And there was somebody else in that. I kind of liked it. The only thing I didn't like is that obviously Luis is coming off an injury after having a rookie of the year, season the year before last, but that's a nasty arm in Luis Hill. But who was the other guy they were mentioning? Let me look. Oh, they wanted not they wanted. This is a hypothetical trade. Clevenger would be in that mix. So it would be a combination of Clevenger and who the other guy say? Rasmussen for Jason Dominguez and Luis Hill.
Okay.
I'm not that bad with that. Jason Dominguez is a beast.
Yeah, that could change a whole lot of.
He's a beastly offensive potential player who did not get a lot of continuous ups last year. He's 22 years old with thump, bro. It's a weird ass trade inside.
We love Rasmussen.
We love Rasmussen.
And if he could duplicate what he did last year, you'd love it. But I mean, it's 3 arm injuries, and if I can get a 22-year-old thumper,
this is a hypothetical rumor trade, but and it's also inside this close to spring training. Some of these kind of like interdivisional trades happen soon, early after the season, but as you get closer into spring training, it's kind of harder to pull those off because that's 4 players that would be impactful to both teams inside your own division. That's saying a lot.
All right. Hey, shout out to Coach Pete Mulry. Says 2 of my favorite guys. You sound great.
Man, Coach Pete, the legend, the one, the only. I tell you, when you talk about legendary coaches, and not only coaches, but mentors and influencers in this Tampa Bay area, Coach Pete, is up there. obviously
former Tampa Catholic
championship coach.
Yeah.
And just been a great mentor to so many players. And all
still working in the community,
still
doing
working
his
in the
literacy
community,
campaigns.
and he's
stuff.
in that level with Pop Cuesta, and just wonderful.
Member of the Tampa Sports Club Hall of Fame, maybe,
and deservedly so.
Yeah,
Thank you,
and on our Hall of Fame board as well. He's a Hall of Famer. So yeah, thank you,
and
Coach.
a book
Appreciate
writer.
Yes, that's right. Many books. Mike in Florida said, hey, TSA just had a meeting and have many questions and want city and county to do economic studies for any public monies. 9 of 11 TSA members were present. Commish Hagan and City Council Clendenin were absent for it today. Well, this is expected. And you want the county and city to definitely do their due diligence as far as, what this deal is going to look like. And we don't know. We don't have any public information yet on whether, what this deal is going to look like in terms of public outlay. There's, talk that there's going to be a billion dollar ask. And again, that's just so nebulous. How does that break down? Again, when we see the numbers that we can look at it and figure it out. And again, I think most of this is going to be done under wraps, not in the public, which is how they did the Atlanta deal. And then once they have a deal, they bring it to the city and the county and have them vote on it. There will not be a public vote on this. That's unlikely, highly unlikely. So it's just going to be the city and county that are going to vote on this. And of course, public input is going to be very, very important. So,
now, I do want your opinion. You've been so well-versed, well-connected, well ahead of this, if you will.
Thank you, sir.
For pretty much all of 25. And obviously, with your journalistic background and kind of super sleuthing a lot of this. And I appreciate it. We appreciate it. But I want your thoughts on, we were just talking just a few minutes ago on what is going to be a leverage play between the MLBPA, the players, and then the owners, the MLBP properties. It's going to be about leverage, and it's going to be about, where would you finally go? There's an interesting leverage kind of game being played right now, and Orlando has kind of come back into the mix. And I would have to say, I want your opinion, that it has to be partly, it's not like it's a done deal that they couldn't get it, but you're kind of using them as a carrot dangling. Sure. Wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And it's a standard operating procedure for any stadium deal.
Right.
There's always
for any deal, for that matter.
Right. So Tampa Bay was always used as that carrot for Chicago to get a stadium, San Francisco to get a stadium.
St. Pete was too.
This is how it's done.
Yeah.
But what's interesting about this is it's not the owners that are threatening to move. It's Ken Hagan that brought it up. And I think it's a stroke of genius, because Ken knows that this is going to be a bit of a political fight, and you can already see the votes lining up on one side or the other. Wostall of the county is going to be a no. Charlie Miranda of the city is going to be a no. These are just guys that just under no circumstances, whether this county's going to make back $2 billion, you're only outlaying $1 billion. They don't care.
Right.
It's just
whether it's amortized or not, and there's money to be made.
They want to be the guy that is standing up for the people, and there's some merit to it, but let's see what the deal is. Again,
let's see what the deal is.
If you're asking for $1 billion, people are going to go, same as Stu. All right. Well, if you're getting back $1.5 billion in property tax revenue over 30 years, what's the problem?
Right.
That sounds like good business to me. You invest $1 billion, get back $1.5 billion, sign me up.
Exactly.
And plus, as a steward of local, public funds, which are going to be spent somewhere on something.
Exactly.
Could be, I don't know, a Somali daycare. Who knows? But to my point, if it doesn't go here, where are they going to waste it? Spend it.
Yeah.
At least I know what I'm getting.
You know what you're getting, and it's going to be here for 30 years.
Right. And it's going to be it produces
self-sustaining.
It produces things,
Right.
Yes, infrastructure is very important. You need water and sewer. You need all these things.
Of course.
But
highways and all that stuff.
And this is, another big misnomer. The monies that go to this are not monies that would be going to water and sewer.
Right. That you're taking away from
them. There's certain taxes are only able to use for certain things. SITS tax, which is a big part of this, which is the half-penny sales tax. The special taxing districts that are going to be created where, everything that's purchased in that district, burgers, wings, beers, a portion of it goes to pay back the city bond. So these are like user fees. And that's a great way to finance things. And that's the way things are being financed these days. So the devil's in the details. If you can show, and that's what these studies are about, show us that we create this development that's going to, be throwing off $200 million a year in property taxes where they don't get anything off this property right now that Hillsborough College sits on. Well, then, it's a no-brainer.
Right.
So the numbers just have to work.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, the numbers in St. Pete didn't work for the public at all. That was a complete boondoggle. And I think where the rubber's going to meet the road is this group wants a lot of the money up front.
Mm-hmm.
And Hillsborough County wants to pay as you go.
Right.
So they've got to figure that out. The money's here. There's no question.
The money's here. The media's here. Yeah. The TV market's here. By media, I mean the TV market.
You can write a column and point out all the negatives, and that's fair game.
Right.
But you can also look at all the positives.
The fans are here too, by the way, which is not necessarily in Orlando.
Huge market, bigger market than Orlando, way bigger than Orlando. Established fan base.
That's what I meant.
You don't have that.
No, because Orlando. You have a lot of transients.
You can tell me all you want that the 70 million visitors that are coming to Orlando
but they
are going to want a baseball game. You have no proof of that.
You have none.
You have no proof of that. They're coming to ride roller coasters and get scared at the Tower of Terror. All right. They're not coming here to go to baseball games.
It's not proven.
Now, some of them will.
Yeah. I'll tell you how it's not proven. The Braves moved from Wild World of Sports, and they couldn't get enough people to come.
And they'll tell you Disney didn't want them there anymore because they can make more money on other stuff. But
there was something going on.
There was, the attendance wasn't there.
It wasn't there.
And it wasn't supported. And in other endeavors in pro sports in that town, it has not been wildly supported as they claim baseball will be. Right. Plus, by the way, they don't have an owner because their ownership, Morgan & Morgan backed out. Workman is in the new Rays group, so they don't have an owner. They don't have public money that is being set aside.
Right.
All that they're putting their money into Camping World Stadium.
They're claiming that they have $1 billion ready to build a stadium. It's tricky. Here's the thing.
So all this, people say, Orlando has FU money. No, they don't.
No,
you don't know what you're talking about. No. They have a lot of bed tax money. A lot of that is already committed to Camping World Stadium and to the Orange County Convention Center, which they're going to double.
Yeah.
And that's where they make a lot of their money.
Right.
So this whole idea that Orlando's just sitting here with a big pot of money and ownership just ready to go is completely erroneous. But you still want the commissioners to believe that if they vote no, they're going to be the one that's pointed to. All these Rays fans are going to go, "You're the one who voted no," and your political career is over, which I think is brilliant.
Well, again, the Orlando thing is not without its merit of potential, but so you use it as leverage. I mean, for example, quote unquote from, Governor DeSantis. I know there are other parts of Florida that want it too. I mean, Orlando wants it. Disney would love to put it in a wide world of sports. Universal could put it close to their parks, but he's committed to keeping it in Tampa Bay and he's supporting all that. But he kind of threw it out there too, just a little bit of leverage, because like saying, get the deal done.
Right.
Don't mess around.
Right.
And get this thing done. I'm giving you a great opportunity. There's 113 acres over here that you can do some wonderful things with, and we'll all make money from it. So you got to really remember that this is amortized over a period of time, and that there's going to be a lot of positive taxation coming back, to the county, to the city, to the state of Florida, really, but to this area. So
and that's the argument that the Rays are going to have to make is that yes, we want a public-private partnership. We want $1 billion in tax breaks, land breaks, money going into the stadium to help build the stadium. And we'll build everything else with our money, which is going to produce tax revenue back to this county and city. The same thing that has happened up in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And they have to make that case to the public and to the administrators. And once they do make that case, it's going to be a hard time to say no. And the other reason that I think this is going to work is because there's too many people that are highly invested in this. The governor is front and center.
Yeah.
All right. Politically aligned with the new group.
Correct.
Say what you don't want about politics. Politics matters. So they're
and gets deals done.
On
either side.
The local ownership group, the Fred Ridleys, Dex Imaging,
The
owner, the Cosgroves. I mean, everybody that's in this group these are highly connected people with a lot of money.
Right.
The last time I checked, people with a lot of money usually get what they want.
They get things done. Or they get things done.
Yeah. Ken Babby, to me, is a very highly energetic, super smart guy that is very likable. And he's the one, that's going in there and we'll be talking to the commissioners and meeting with them. And I think when you listen to him and you meet with him, you come away very energetic and very positive about the whole thing. So to me, there's way too many. Major League Baseball is highly invested. Manfred wants it here in Tampa Bay.
Yeah,
he wants it in Tampa, and always has.
If he wasn't for this particular spot, he would say something about it already.
And he's all invested in this.
Yeah. And so I'll give you a couple of examples too that people might look at, but are apples to oranges. And that is, remember, Atlanta moved from downtown. So you almost kind of look at the situation with the Atlanta Braves as being almost St. Pete to us coming to Tampa.
Right.
So
moving to where your fans are.
Are and to build out the Battery and make it so much more, attractive. So, and on top of that, they didn't move that far. It's a similar move as this, right? They went to Cobb County.
You're moving from the edge of the market to the middle of where your fans are.
You still didn't. People in downtown, Atlanta still go over to Truist Park and enjoy Atlanta Braves.
And people may say, "Well, wait, the Braves were downtown. They moved to the outskirts." No, when you look at a map of where the fans are, South Atlanta was not where the baseball fans
was not participating.
Most of the baseball Atlanta Braves ticket holders were up in the northern part.
That's just the reality.
Where they live, more of the suburbs, the outs. Those are baseball fans,
right?
And so they move closer to where their fans are.
Very similar scenario.
Yeah, it's very similar.
It's not just about the Battery and the acres that they needed.
Yeah,
it's about the proper movement as to where to go.
Moving to closer to where the majority of your fans are.
And you just had a similar thing, though football completely is different because football is once a week and fans will go 100 miles to go to their games. But you just had the Kansas City Chiefs, move out to Kansas now from Missouri. Yeah. Because it's a sweeter deal, smarter deal. Mm-hmm. Everything is just better. So, but that's not the same.
But it's the same type of model, though. They're going to build a big entertainment district around it.
An entertainment district. But it's different when you would uproot this team, St. Pete, Tampa Bay team to Orlando. It's a completely apples and oranges to the Braves. And
by the way, with all due respect to the governor, he knows damn well that Disney and Universal are not in the baseball business, but it sounds good.
It sounds
really good.
Well, he's not governor for no reason.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing. But again, is Orlando a player? Sure they are.
Sure. Let's say they are.
Sure they are.
Yeah.
But I think it's more towards, letting the people know that are on these councils that if they vote no, the blood would be on your head.
That would be, oh my God. That would be akin to your Scott Boras, and you're saying to the Dodgers, listen, we really need this deal, make us tomorrow. We're going to go talk to the Colorado Rockies.
That's right.
So Orlando's like the Colorado Rockies.
Well,
the Dodgers will be looking like, excuse me, what did you say?
No,
they're another major league team. We're going to go talk to them.
Yeah, I think you need a little bit more credibility. We're selling Orlando, but I really don't think that there's.
He wasn't going. He wasn't going to sign with the Rockies. It was not a good chance.
We just want you to believe that Orlando is willing and able and ready. And
I'm sorry, Rocks fans.
You can say the same thing about the Rays.
Prove me wrong, buddy. Prove me wrong.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions? Do the Rays have a TV deal yet? No, they don't.
They do not.
They're working on it right now.
Several teams. There's about 9 teams working on deals right now.
But again, we kind of did a whole thing on that on another show.
It's going to work itself out.
It'll work itself out. And there's an opportunity there for them to make a lot of money.
Yeah.
If they do it the right way, there's a great opportunity to make a lot of money. So, but it's a wild, wild west as far as that goes. All right, partner.
All right,
great
buddy.
job.
Good stuff.
Thank you guys for watching. Appreciate you. Sorry for the technical difficulties. We'll do better next time. I will do better next time.
Thank you. Thank you very much for
we
explaining. This is a big old show, but my producer sometimes sucks. He's the best. Stay tranquil and tropical.
Thank you, guys. Have a great week. We'll be back on Friday with more fun and frivolity.